and I've lived in Belleville since I was born in 1926, other than the time that I spent in the Air Force at the end of World War II. So, otherwise, I've lived here in the Belleville area all my life. There's a lot of stores that I remember that you see on old pictures where they were. Take the Ben Franklin store. That was originally built as a Sears and Roebuck store. And it's off of there. And down at the corner of Jackson and East Main on the southeast corner, that big 3-story building now that's got those sandwiches in, that was built as a Montgomery Ward building. And down on South Illinois Street now, where the St. Clair County school teachers' educational departments are, that was built as an A&P grocery store. It was built by Charlie Meyer and his brother, and they were owners of that for a long time. We were one of 4 houses that were built all at the same time. Right behind us, about 2 blocks away, was Clay's Brick Company. It was behind. It was on 21st, on North 21st Street. If you would cross the old Southern Railroad tracks and go back about, there was a hill up there, and they had 2 brick kilns, and they would put many thousand brick in there. After they come out of the press from being made, they would haul them in there, and then there was a man in there that would stack them, and he stacked them in with space between the bricks, and they would reverse the direction on every course, and it'd take them months to get that brick kiln filled, and then they would, after they had it all closed up, then they would start to fire it. And first they would fire it with coal. The next day or so they might use wood. And they would have a fire in there feeding the heat into that kiln for at least 30 or 31 days. I was told one time by one of the fellows doing the firing. So it was, well, it's really now a Lindenwood University student housing. It's on the corner of 20th and A, and it was one of those 3 houses that was just bought there this past year or so, or last year, I should say. And it was a 2-story. We had 2 bedrooms and a bath up, and we had a living room, dining room, and kitchen down with a basement. And we heat with a coal stove in the kitchen for cooking and for heating. And we had a small heating stove in our living room for heat. And it was then in the 1930s why my father got a hot air coal-fired furnace that we had put in, and we had central heating then. Well, my father was Fred G. Miller, and he was born to William and Caroline Miller at 314 South 8th Street in Belleville. And my mother was Alma Peter, and her father was a policeman that I remember her talking about. And he was one of the 2 policemen killed in the 2nd century of Belleville's term. There were 2 policemen who died in the line of duty, and he was one of them. His name was Christian Peter. And he also is buried in Walnut Hill, as well as my father's parents. So the family is all out in Walnut Hill Cemetery. My grandfather was out on patrol one night, walking his beat, and when we first got streetlights, there would be a big loop of wire from the streetlight that would hang down and go back up. And like a big loop, and the street light was out, and so often it was just shorted out, and they would go over and shake the chain that held it to where you would tie a rope on and lower the street light down to change the bulb, and then you would pull it back up. Well, it was a rainy, dark night, and he went over to that pole and went to shake the chain, and when he did, he was electrocuted by the shortened wire. So that was in 1915. I have a sister who lives out the atrium in Belleville. She's 93 years old. I had two younger brothers, and they both passed away. One had prostate problems, and the other one had a heart condition, and it was quite sudden. He was having his chest pains, and when he actually had a heart blockage, and when they got him to the hospital, he was all ready to come home after the second week. The doctor was ready to release him when he had a blood clot that broke loose and went to his heart, and that was it. That was the one died in 2005, and the other one 2004, and the other one in 2005. Well, Christmas, we usually had a Christmas Eve celebration at our house at 20th and A, and most of from my mother and my father's side, some of the aunts and uncles would come with their children, and we'd have snacks and so on. But Christmas evening was afternoon. We all went down to my grandma on South 8th Street, and some of my aunts from St. Louis and their kids, they would come over, and we had a chance to get together throughout the 2 days anyway. Well, back in those days, we didn't really have the money. I mean, back in the 30s and early 40s, well, in 41, the wars started. No, we never really went on a vacation as a family because there was no money. My father was tickled to death when he was offered a job at Rush Enamel Range there on, I guess that was 14th Street at 40 cents an hour. He was tickled to death. He thought, man, I'm a millionaire. I really don't know. I know my grandparents, my great-grandparents were back in the 1860s. So it goes back quite a ways.
And they were in Belleville? The great-grandparents?
Yeah, on my father's side, they came from, they were born on South 8th Street. Really, I don't know what my grandfather did. So when he passed away in 1938, I was only 12 years old, and I really didn't know a whole lot about him. So I went down to the Humboldt School on 8th and C Street. And right across the street from us was St. Louis Dairy, had a dairy barn where they took care of the milk when it came in. Then it was loaded into, these were glass bottles, were putting into different cases of milk. And they had horses there, and they would hitch them up to these wagons, little small wagons they had, and they would deliver milk to the residents. They had a regular route that they would do every day.
How big of a school building was this?
This was the Humboldt School building is still there. It's been made into apartments. We had 4 rooms down and 4 rooms up, and each one of those rooms was about 20 feet or more square. And we had big wide hallways between the classrooms. And in the center of it, we had the big staircase going up and down. So, well, I can't remember my teachers from grade school, or even after we finished the 6th grade there, that we went downtown to where we had the Central Junior High School. That was torn down, and now it's the Fred and Elsie Kearns YMCA Center. So the buildings that I was used to seeing are all gone, and new ones have taken their place. There was always leaves to be raked, grass to be cut in the summertime, and in the wintertime I think we had more snow than we have now. But we had kids in the neighborhood to get together. We'd play hide and seek and things like that at night. Or maybe if we had enough, we'd play ball or something. So, yeah, I had a little wire-haired fox terrier. And we also had raised from when my father had an incubator in the basement, and they hatched some eggs, the chickens, and then we would put them out in our chicken yard, and we were allowed to have chickens in Belleville. And we had a little pet Rhode Island red chicken. And we also had this dog, and at night we would put the dog out in this shed next to the chicken house. And one night, that pet chicken and the dog got into the same room, and in the morning we found the carcass of the chicken there with all the feathers off. It was laying there, and the dog was there wagging his tail. So that was the end of the chicken. Yeah, we would usually make some homemade ice cream, and Mother always had some cakes for us and things like that.
Did you ever have a surprise party?
Yeah. Well, we celebrated Thanksgiving. We celebrated Easter. Always went to church and had our Easter ham usually. But we went to church just about every Sunday at that time.
What was Halloween like back then? Did you trick or treat?
No, not that I can remember. I went to Belleville Township High School, which is now Lindenwood University. And I was kind of undecided of what I wanted to do, so I wound up taking a basic mathematics and things like that. But I enjoyed algebra and physics. We had a teacher by the name of John Karsh, and everybody called him Johnny Karsh. And he always talked about his Rio automobile. And he would talk about getting the headlights focused. When you have to take it in to have it inspected, why, they would say they were out of focus. So he went and had it focused, and it wasn't satisfied for the state, and he had to have it done over. And then when he got done, why, he had it done, put back the way he wanted it. But he was quite a teacher that could make the students really want to work. We would have races among ourselves to see who could come up to. He'd give us a problem, and who could work it out first as the fastest. And so,
Did you play sports, or did you join
well,
clubs? Or?
Not really. Back in the late 30s, I was in high school starting in 1940, but we lived 2 blocks at 19th and West Main. Was a new